Alrighty, guys, let's get started. First off, thank you for being here today. On behalf of Smart Dolphins, I'd like to welcome you into today's session on Microsoft Teams. My name is Matthew, and I'm the marketing coordinator here at Smart Dolphins. We will be here throughout the webinar today to help answer questions during our hour together. Before handing it over to our trainer, I'd like to quickly share some information on our upcoming public webinars. On November 28th, we're covering cybersecurity for leaders. On December 5th, we're going to be covering Microsoft Outlook, Planner, and To Do. On December 12th, we'll be covering Microsoft Bookings. Please visit our website for more information and to register. If you have any questions today, please pop them into the Q&A section here in Teams, and we'll tackle them as we go along. We'll also save some time at the end for discussion and Q&A. There is a handout located in the chat today. Please feel free to download that and follow along. Okay, I'd now like to introduce our trainer for today's presentation. It's a great pleasure to welcome JoLynn Rihn. She is a certified trainer and Microsoft Master Instructor, over 30 years of experience. Thank you for joining us today, JoLynn. Please take it away.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Matthew, and welcome everybody to our session today on using Microsoft Teams meetings. I think that this is a session that there's so much to this that I really want to hone in today on, what are some efficiencies that have come out recently, and what are some things that everybody should know about working with Microsoft Teams meetings. So let me get my Microsoft Teams on the window here for everybody to see. So when it comes to utilizing Microsoft Teams, if you've attended any of our sessions previously, I always talk about this being the hub program. I think it's really kind of that go-to program that connects us to all these other applications. But there's been some changes with Outlook when it comes to working with Teams meetings as well. So I will be kind of showing you a little bit on the Outlook side of things as well. But when you come into Microsoft Teams, of course, you have your navigation on the left-hand side, which will give you access to your different apps. There's going to be multiple ways for you to be able to access and work in a meeting. So it isn't just going to Teams to join a meeting or to create a Teams meeting. We can be doing that from Outlook. You can also be joining a meeting by going to the pop-up reminder, or the pop-up notification, I should say, that you get at the bottom right of your screen. So there's going to be lots of ways for us to join them, but I want to start out really kind of talking about first the activity. So kind of a strange thing to be talking about when we're talking about meetings, but the activity has recently been changed. And what it's going to do is allow you to see notifications from meetings. It does that by default. Now, I have been asked by people, can I turn that off? You can in your settings, just so you know, it is something that you can turn off, but I personally really like it. Some people say it's too much of a duplication because we get the notification in Outlook as well. But as you can see, I have access to meeting invites directly here in my activities. So I spend so much time in Teams that I just love that feature. Plus, if somebody sends an update to a meeting, they made a change, they canceled it, whatever the case would be, you're going to get notified here in the activities of Teams. I just think that it's a great feature, so don't turn it off too quickly. Give it a try. See if it's something that would be beneficial to you as well. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention before we dive into creating these meetings is there is an app that I do recommend you add to the left-hand side. So you know how you have your navigation on the left? Well, here in Teams, that navigation is actually customizable. I've already added an icon here called Meet. You could just simply go to View More Apps, type in Meet, click the app, and then pin it to the left-hand side if you decide you would want to use it. But it is directly connected to your Teams meetings. So when you come into this app, it's going to show you what you have coming up next. So, I mean, this to me is pretty cool. So these are my upcoming Teams meetings, and it doesn't show more because it's really kind of looking over the next 7 days. And this is all I have for Teams meetings. It doesn't show all my meetings. It's really more team focused. But at the bottom, you can see recent. And it's got these different categories here. I'm going to click on all, and it's going to show me all of my recent meetings. And notice on the right-hand side when I'm kind of hesitating on these, I could actually go in and view a recap. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about what that means and what that does for you, but basically, I have access to all of that directly here. So this is going to limit my view to just show me everything meeting related. It's not as easy to go back to your calendar and see everything because your calendar could have things that were non-Teams related. So this way, it's a quick way to kind of get back to that information. So if you haven't tried this yet, definitely give it a try. But back up to the top of this again. So I've got this Microsoft Teams meeting. You can see that I did accept this. But what if this was something that just came in? I would actually even be able to accept it or change my answer right here. I don't have to go back to Outlook. I don't have to go to my calendar to do it. I could do it right from here as well. So I don't know. I just think that this is a great addition to, unlike seeing every day of the week and seeing all these different things you have, this can really narrow the list down to Teams meetings. But anyway, let's talk more on how do you actually work with Teams meetings. So we would most likely, not always, but we could go directly to the calendar. Now I'm saying not always because we do have other ways to create meetings, but I'll show you those in a little bit. First, let's talk about kind of the basics of getting this meeting created. And we always want to think about before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting, because there's different things that you may want to be doing before, during, and after. So we'll get into what those are. So as you can see, it automatically is opening up. When I come in, it opens up a calendar, and this calendar is connected directly to my Outlook calendar. So if I do something in my Outlook calendar, it shows up here. If I do something here, it's going to show up there. So let's say that I want to schedule a meeting for 4 o'clock today. I'm in the Eastern time zone today. If I just go to the calendar, click the time frame for 4 o'clock, it's going to automatically open a new meeting window. Now, you may have already seen this window before, but I want to make sure you understand the changes and the updates that we have, some other things that are extremely important to make sure you're planning ahead. So up at the top, we would add in the title. So I'm going to say that this is going to be a benefits meeting. Excuse me, sorry. I'm going to put in who's going to be required to attend. Depending on where I'm doing this meeting, I don't always do that. I'll explain that in a few minutes. But I'm going to put in that I just want student 1 to be attending this meeting with me. I can turn this into a reoccurrence if I needed to, but I'm not going to. I'm going to keep it as a half-an-hour meeting. I could add it to a channel, but I'll show you that in a little bit. I don't need to really put in a location, physically type in a location, because notice on the right-hand side, I can slide the button to off to say I don't want this to be an online meeting. Now, why would I ever do that? Because what if I'm here in Teams and I'm creating a meeting that's going to be in the conference room? It's not going to be an online meeting. I could still do that through Teams. Now, that isn't something that we had a few months ago. That was recently added. Within the past probably 4 months that was added. So just so you know, that's a relatively new one. In this details, where it says type details for this meeting, this is where you would describe, the meeting. So what is the objective? Okay, so just so you kind of think of what, it has built-in spell check, isn't that great? but I'm just going to fix it myself here. But one of the things that I absolutely love is add an agenda. At the bottom of this window, always scroll down to the very bottom. A lot of people aren't even noticing that it's there. But if you click Add Agenda, it's going to open what is called a loop component. The loop component is part of Microsoft Loop. It's a different app in 365 that works in conjunction with Outlook, Teams, OneNote. It works in a lot of other apps. So this is an add-in component that is automatically here that you can see at the top. It has the name of the meeting, and I could click on it to open it. I could add in an agenda. So let's say that I want to put in my topics. So I'm going to say topic 1, we're going to talk about old business. We're going to talk about new business, 2025 items, whatever it is that you need to add in for the agenda. People want to know when they're invited to a meeting, what's the objective of the meeting? We put that in the details. Then they want to know what's going on with the agenda. So what topics are going to be covered during that meeting? Now, notice if I scroll down, there's also a place for us to do the meeting notes. Isn't that crazy? It's all in one central location. So the meeting notes, I don't type them in before the meeting because how do I know what the notes are? And by the way, I personally don't have to be the one, even though I'm creating the meeting, I don't have to be the one that puts in the meeting notes. Somebody else that is an attendant could do that as well, or it could be myself. We could add notes before, during, and after. I usually don't put them in before the meeting because we haven't started the meeting. But at the bottom, you're going to see follow-up tasks. This is where during the meeting, or after the meeting, we can be entering in tasks related to the meeting topics, and we can assign them to other people. So just so you are aware that that's a part that I usually use during the meeting or after the meeting. I don't usually assign it beforehand, but technically you could. So I'm going to just put in my agenda items for right now. Once again, this is an online meeting, which means it's going to be a Teams meeting. And then up at the top, you can see that it's actually letting me know that the person I invited is in a different time zone than that I am in, but I'm going to ignore that for right now. But just so you know why I'm getting that up there. I do have, of course, access to my scheduling assistant. It's a tab at the top of the window that I could go to, but I know student 1 is available. So I'm just going to ignore that. But I'm not just going to click send yet. I'm not going to go to the top right and just click send because I need to go to the meeting options, because if I'm inviting 10 people, do I want the people within my organization and the guests to be able to just bypass the lobby and come straight into the meeting? Or what's going to be my situation? I need to make sure that I'm entering in the details before the meeting starts as much as I can. Sometimes I don't enter all of them and I enter some during when I personally start the meeting, but the more you can do now, the better off you'll be. So on the right-hand side, if I click more options, that will display a full window of all the options that I could be setting prior to the meeting starting. So highly recommend this. So it talks about the bypassing. We can even enable the green room, which if you're not familiar, you can hesitate and you can see what it is that you can do in the green room. It has microphone and video options that you can be turning on and turning off. Guest reactions, what roles people are going to have. So are you going to have any co-organizers, who can present, those types of things. So as I'm scrolling down, it's actually going to each of the categories on the left. Matthew, did someone have a question?
We actually have 2 questions.
Okay, good.
The first one is, can invitees add to the agenda or just the main user that created the meeting? So, yeah.
Can they add people to it?
No, I think they're asking, if you invite someone to a meeting, can that invitee add people to the meeting?
So if I invite someone, can they invite someone to the meeting?
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same, and they would do that the same way the host does it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, they could
Perfect.
just come in and share that meeting. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Nothing unique there. And then the second question is there an AI route to add meeting notes? So, yeah.
Yes. It's not released yet.
Oh,
Um, it is in process of being enhanced and being provided to different licensing. So if we have the premium version, we get more information, and I'll talk about the premium version, but I'll talk more about that towards the end of the session
right.
because it depends on the license you have. There is a premium version. So the answer is yes, depending.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
So I'll show you a little bit of what I mean by some of that. I can't demonstrate absolutely everything today, but we'll kind of answer that question a little bit better in a minute. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Awesome. Thanks,
Great.
John.
You're welcome. So if you make any changes to this, by the way, make sure that you click save so that it's automatically going to be saved for when you actually go and run the meeting. I'm going to click done or close, either way. So I'm good right now to go ahead and start this or save this, I should say. So of course, when you do send this, when you click send, it's going to send a message to the user to let them know that they've been invited. And of course, they can accept, tentative, whatever. So just so you can see how this flows, let me come over to my email account and I can show you this, because I want to kind of show you back and forth what you're going to end up seeing and how things work. So here's the benefits meeting that I just sent to student one. So I'm in student one's inbox and I can see right here I could just do an RSVP. I'm in the new Outlook, by the way, and the new Outlook is going to display the meeting contents so you can actually see your calendar availability right away, which makes sense because how do you know for sure what it's conflicting with if there's a confliction with your calendar? So I can accept, decline. Down at the bottom, I could also click the ... I could say tentative or propose a new time, etc. So just so you could see, these are choices. I'm going to go ahead and have student one accept this, so it automatically is going to be added to their calendar. And of course, the person that sent it out will be able to track the responses, which, by the way, notice on my email on the right-hand side, it's tracking the responses. So I love this new Outlook for so many different reasons. We don't have as many clicks to do anymore. I used to have to go back to the calendar, double click, click tracking, and be able to see it. But now I can actually see it right here from the email that they received. So pretty cool that we have that. So we have that meeting already scheduled. And while I'm here in Outlook, let me show you the calendar from this side. So if I'm in the calendar, well, let me back up for a second because there's another feature I want to show you. And keep in mind, I do have the new Outlook. So let's say that I had an email going back and forth with people. And I'm going to jump into an actual email here. So I have this email going back and forth with this person, and I need to schedule a meeting with this person. I'm going to go to schedule with Copilot, just so you can see how this piece works with the Copilot option. So when we were just talking about that Copilot, I'm in Outlook doing this right now. But because I did this from an email, I'm doing this from an email. I'm going to maximize this window. It's automatically putting the subject in the subject of the meeting, took the email subject, invited the people that were a part of that email. I can choose my date and time, but notice what it did down at the bottom. It actually looked at the conversation string of that email, and it's actually giving me agenda items. So notice that it's got the email up at the top. It's showing me these are the things that should be on the agenda based on the summarization of the conversation so far. I can click insert to insert those items so they can be a part of this meeting. Now on the right-hand side is where I can choose, is this going to be a Teams meeting? I can even choose if this is going to be an in-person meeting. So if I want this person to be coming to the meeting in person, I can say it's going to be in person as opposed to an online meeting. They can choose, though, to say they need to attend virtually. But I won't go through all of that, just so you're kind of seeing that this window will do that now in Outlook. Now, I'm actually going to take off that person because I don't want to invite that person to this meeting. I'm just going to invite student 1. The email conversation is attached. That's okay. So it's myself and student 1 will be invited. And I'm going to go ahead and click send, just so you can see. So student 1 accepted the benefits meeting. I get that email back. They've received this invitation for this other meeting as well. So that will be coming into play here in a second. So just so you could see the Outlook side of things, it could be a Teams meeting. So here's that meeting. It automatically added it to my calendar. If I click on it, I can click edit. If I come into edit this meeting, I can change this to being an online meeting, but notice what it did with that agenda. Everything is automatically in the notes area, just so you know. And I'm going to click send update because I turned this into an online meeting. I'm going to send an update to student 1 so that they get the updated information related to this meeting. If I go back into that meeting, I'm going to click edit on it again. Just so you can see, it automatically has added in the Teams meeting information, but what it hasn't done, which I feel is a little disappointing, is and I don't know if this is part of the fixes that they're going to be doing, but it did not automatically add these agenda items to the loop component for the agenda at the bottom. Now I'm going to copy it. I'm going to come down to add agenda, and I'm going to see if I can paste this in there. But what I have seen in the past is it's not just doing it automatically for me, and I want it to. So I'm hoping that that's one of the fixes or the changes that are coming, because there are some major things coming within the next couple of months. So anyway, just so you know, I did that personally. I just took the information from there and added it to the agenda. But I'm going to go ahead and click send update again because I did make changes, so it has to update the person that there were changes that had happened. So that was one meeting that I could create and do. But there are a lot of different meetings that we can do, so I want to talk about creating them before I go into a meeting. I could simply go to a team and do a meeting from there. So I'm going to go to my chat on the left-hand side. I do have the latest updates to Microsoft Teams added. If you've seen that, it's combining, and they're already going to make changes to this, but they're combining chats and your channels in one window. So there's no longer the icon on the left for Teams. We go into the chat to get to our teams. But if I come to this channel called Accounts Payable, we can actually do meetings directly here. I could also go to the calendar and schedule a meeting that is going to be a part of the channel. So if I'm going to be meeting with everybody in Accounts Payable, I could go to the top right of the window. There's this video camera. If I click on that drop down, I could say that I want to do a meeting right now, or I could schedule a meeting. And I'm going to click schedule a meeting so you could see what this does. So I want to schedule a meeting that's related to Accounts Payable. So what it's going to do is give me my new meeting window, and it's going to be changes for 2025 AP changes. That's going to be my title. I don't necessarily have to put people in that are required to attend. I could actually put in the channel name. So I'm going to start with, come on, it's got to catch up to me. Oh, I think I have to do the @ symbol. Sorry, I forgot that. See if it will catch up with me. It's not wanting to do this today. I've been having a couple of weird things happen in Teams here today, so I apologize for that. But normally I would actually be able to just invite the channel to the actual meeting, but I'm in the channel, just so you know. So the whole channel is invited anyway. Otherwise, I could invite other people outside of the channel to join this meeting. But you're going to see right here, because I started this meeting through the channel, it automatically has connected the channel to this meeting. So everybody that's a part of that team, part of that channel, will be able to attend this meeting. On the right-hand side, if I want to include an individual without going to the @ and then putting in the channel name, I can simply say send personal invites, where each person in the channel will get a personal invite automatically also. Otherwise, I put them in the @ with the name of it over there. Otherwise, I can put in, of course, my details. I can be adding in my agenda items like we saw earlier. All of that works the same. So let me just add in a topic. And I'm going to bypass the right-hand side. I won't make changes to that, but normally I would. Then I just simply click send. So everybody that's a part of that channel is now going to get an email invitation to join that meeting. So when that meeting happens, when I just scheduled that, it's going to post about that in the post tab. So right here, I can see that meeting is scheduled for this channel. So it automatically will do that for us, which is a great feature. Also, once that meeting starts, there's going to be a video camera icon next to the name of the channel. So everybody that sees that channel in their list will know that that meeting has started. And of course, if they're individual attendees, they'll also be able to join it by their pop-up notification. Otherwise, they will be able to come directly here, and you can see on the right-hand side, I have joined also. Lots of different ways to join the meetings. So I could join it directly from there. Now, I am going to join a meeting, but I'm going to go back to my calendar to do this. So I'm going to start a meeting. And the meeting that I'm going to start right now, and you can see this meeting is going on. This meeting is supposed to be going on right now, so it's showing me that meeting right here. And I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and I'm going to say I want to join it. If I had a reminder on it, my reminder popped up, I could join from there as well. So tons of different ways to join it. But I'm going to go ahead and click join. Now, I'm not going to join with my camera because I'm already using my camera with my other team's account. So I won't do that, but if you are seriously doing a meeting, you will want to make sure that your camera is turned on if it's going to be used during the meeting. Make sure that if you need to go back and do your background and things like that, there are so many times that I have had people join meetings and they didn't think about their background. They didn't think about, you know, if they're going to use a microphone or whatever the case is. Always make sure you are prepared before you click the join. So this is that prep area. This is the prep time. You can make sure your lighting is good and all of that. There's a lot of etiquette, meeting etiquette that you want to think about at this point. But I'm going to go ahead and say join now. And I'm actually going to have my phone join it. So you can join Teams meetings from a phone, your tablet, whatever type of a device. And I'm going to keep the mic and the video off on my phone here. Okay, so I can see that student 1 has joined. So this is my student 1, and then I'm on this call as well. And my meeting notes, because we put in meeting notes, they automatically open. If you didn't start them before the meeting, they won't automatically be open. So I could close them at any time and reopen them by going to the tab at the top of the ribbon for notes. So I can always come back and reopen it. And so could other people. So my student 1 could go in and do notes. So just so you can see, if we added another agenda item, I could come in and add it in. So maybe we added in topic 2. So that can always be added during, but most of the time I need that agenda ahead of time. And then the meeting notes will be right here. So I'm going to type in meeting notes. So we did new business, and here's what we talked about. And then we did old business, and here's what we talked about. 2024 items, new business, we talked about 2025 items, and who's ever going to do that, of course, can be putting that information in. On the right-hand side, I do have Copilot. So I do have the premium license right now, so I can click on Copilot and have it help me with my text. I also have the Copilot app up at the top as well. I'm going to confirm that I want English. So Copilot can be used as well. Copilot is a wonderful feature to use during and after meetings, because if somebody comes into a meeting late, they can actually ask Copilot to catch them up on what has happened since then. Matthew, do we have a question?
Yes. Someone is wondering, can external guests access that meeting notes feature?
As far as I think the default settings, they can, but I think, and I can't remember that, I'm kind of hesitating on that because I can't remember if it was through the admin or through the meeting settings, the options that we can say no, they can't have access to it.
Mm,
So it's either through global or it's through the meeting settings. But I
right.
think by default it was turned on.
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe it's in the edit options part of the meeting
Yeah.
seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So when we go into those meeting options, there's a lot of options. So we
So,
need to make sure that we are taking our time and really going through those. It's a
mhm.
good idea. But I didn't start recording this meeting, so I'm going to do that. Most of the time when I set up the meeting, I wanted to start the recording right away, but I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to start the recording right now. So it's starting the recording and it's doing transcripts at the same time. So you're going to see that it's automatically going to come up with that. So anyway, what I wanted to come back to on this is really get yourself comfortable. Before you do a meeting, do a test, do it with a coworker or whatever. Kind of think about, what are the things that could go wrong and plan for them so that you can make sure you understand that feature prior to. Because we can actually be turning on and turning off chat features, raising hands, reacting. We can turn on and off those types of features within your meeting request. So make sure that you're paying attention to what you want people to be able to use. I remember doing a meeting one time and I had turned off chat and I told them they could ask questions for the chat. And it's like, oh yeah, totally forgot I had turned that off. So make sure that you're kind of thinking about those things ahead of time. But where I went to actually do this transcription and to say to record this was from the More menu. So from this More menu is where I can go in and say to record and transcribe. You could see that I could say stop recording, stop transcription, show the transcription, etc. Also, I can go into settings, and from here, I could go into my meeting options. So this is something that I could go back and do before everybody else joins. I probably wouldn't do this after everybody joins. Try and set this up as much as possible before the meeting starts. But of course, you have your camera options, your microphone, and your sharing capabilities. And when it comes to sharing, by the way, you can choose an app that you have open that you want to share. You could share an entire screen or you could just share a specific window. So there's a lot of different choices. You could share a PowerPoint presentation, all kinds of things. And if this is another thing that I have this mental block of forgetting to do this all the time, include the sound. So if you have a system sound that you want your audience to hear, make sure you include the sound. Okay. And if you're going to run a video coming from your presentation or whatever the case, they won't be able to hear it if you don't turn the sound on. So make sure that you do that. And then when you are done with your meeting, don't click leave. If you're the host of the meeting, you want to go to the drop down arrow next to leave and click end meeting. That will end the meeting for everyone. Otherwise, if you just leave the meeting, everybody is still going to be in the meeting with, they're all in it, you're just gone. So make sure that you do end the meeting appropriately. So my phone, it ended it for it. I didn't have to leave it myself. But of course, if you're just a participant or a speaker and you're done and you want to leave, you can just click leave. Okay. But anyway, that was what I wanted to show you on that side of things. Those are things that you may have already been using. But there's a lot more to meetings. When it comes to using meetings, yes, we can do a meeting that is going to be an impromptu meeting. So let me show you an example of what I mean by that. I briefly mentioned it when I was in the channel, but I'm going to come back to chat and I'm going to go in excuse me, I got a tickle. I'm going to go into my chats. Okay, come on, take me back. So anyway, from a chat, just like we have at the top right of any meetings, we could, for some reason, it's not letting me there now. I can finally click in. I want to go into Discover. This is new and I'm still getting used to this. Why is, where's all my stuff gone? I'll have to figure that out later. It was all here a minute ago. I don't know what happened to it, but anyway, let me just go back to a team itself. So when we are actually in a team, you can go to a channel and you would be able to start that meeting that I showed you a minute ago. Instead of going to that drop down and scheduling a meeting, I could do it as an impromptu meeting. So we have a lot of ways to do that. I even can do that directly from the calendar. So it works the same here. I could just simply click Meet Now. So a big thing, just so everybody has the clarification, there is a big difference between meetings and phone calls. Phone calls are great because we can turn our video cameras on and off. We can share our screens, but it's not going to give you the meeting capabilities with having notes and other things like that. So if you want to have agendas and meeting notes and things, you're going to want to do it as an actual meeting, not a phone call. But phone calls are great, though. I still like those. But there's a lot more than just doing these regular meetings. I want to talk Microsoft templates, which actually starts on page 4 of the handout if you downloaded that. I'm just going to go to the top right, but I'm not going to click on new meeting. I'm going to click on the drop down arrow. What that's going to give you is a list of the meeting types that you have available. So if your organization is turned off any, you wouldn't see them, but these are the ones that you get by default. So the one that I'm going to demonstrate is going to be a webinar, and that's actually what we are using here today. Matthew sets up these as webinars so that it has a lot of different details to it. Now I'm just going to maximize this window so you can see this a little bit better. But if you have not used this before, this is a great way to do a presentation with a larger audience. It could be a small audience or it can be a large audience. But the thing about this is it keeps track of registration. It keeps track of your attendees. You can have co-organizers, you could be having different presenters. So if that's the type of meeting that you're going to be doing, and I know a lot of organizations are they're planning out their year-end meetings for the end of 2024 here. This is how you should be doing those, especially since a lot of people are across different locations. It's good to do it as an online meeting sometimes. And this is a great way for us to do that. So if you're going to be doing a year-end meeting with all of your employees, this way you could have different meetings for different people, all depending on what you need. But let me kind of walk you through this. And I'm actually going to call this in the title. So I'm going to start at the top and kind of work my way down. I'm going to call it year-end meeting 2024. I'm going to choose when the date is going to be. I'm going to choose the time. I'm going to say that it's going to be at 9 a.m. By the way, I could go into time zones on the right-hand side if it needed to be a different time zone. I would put in the description, welcome to our year-end meeting for all employees, blah, blah, blah. I would put all that information in there. You could see that it's got this event group and I'm going to be the organizer by default. I could add in co-organizers. I could add in different presenters that are a part of my organization. If I have presenters that will be outside your domain, you can click add external presenters. Otherwise, event access, is this going to be available just for your organization or is this going to be available to the public? Now, the public doesn't have to mean that anybody in the world can join. You can still just share the invitation with specific people. But I'm going to keep it on the default, which is public. I have this enable attendee emails. I'll show you how that's all going to work here. Allow sharing to social media is another option that you can turn on. But you, just like with your meeting options, you need to kind of get yourself familiar with all the questions that it's asking. So do we want manage what attendees see? Do we want to have their mics be available, their cameras be available? Do we want to enable green room, Q&A, that type of thing? Down at the bottom, there is edit more options that you definitely want to be checking out. This is going to be similar to what we saw earlier, where we can come in and we could go to our video, we could go to the different roles, we could go to the recording and transcripts. And when you do a webinar, by the way, you're going to be able to join the meeting, the presenters and organizers and the organizer, they will join before everybody else. As soon as we start the meeting, then the recording will automatically start. So I'm going to click apply. So all these changes and stuff can be a part of this meeting. So when I'm done with this part, this section of the details, I'm going to go to the top left of this right-hand side of the window, and I'm going to click Save. So those initial options need to be saved before I can go to the left-hand side and add in other information. So now I have this all saved, and I'm going to go into the presenter bios. If I were going to have different presenters and I wanted to put their details in there, this is where I could go to do that. We also have theming capabilities. So the theming is a great option because you can be adding in a logo. And by the way, you can change this image of the background. So at the top right, I could choose a different image, go out to my computer. I could have an image like Smart Dolphins has a background for theirs. So just so you know, you can bring in a banner image and then you can bring in your logo and you could choose a theme color to go along with this as well. So any changes that you make, just make sure you save those, and I'll show you an example of how they end up looking, but you've probably seen it because you got an invitation, you registered for this event. But otherwise, after that, you have your category for registration. If I go into this configure, by default, it's going to be grabbing the first name, last name, email, and it has a consent that you have to choose to say you accept the Microsoft consent. Otherwise, we can add in other fields that we want to capture for when someone registers. So if I want to know their job title, if I want to know their organization name, I could check these boxes to say that they are required as I add fields from this dropdown. I also, just so you know, there's other options up at the top that we could use as well. Require manual approval for people to register. We could enable a waiting list. We can limit the registration date so they can only register up to this specific date, which of course, if it's going to happen on a date and we need to know, you know, we're going to be ordering meals or whatever prior to, we might need it to be a week before the live event or whatever the case. So just kind of think about those types of things. Otherwise, on the left-hand side, it does have attendee status. I'm going to save the changes that I made. It does have attendee status. So once we publish this and we start getting registers, we'll be able to see attendee information. But otherwise, we have different emails that are going to go out. You can see that the attendee registration will go out immediately. We have some that go out an hour before the event starts. As soon as recording is published, the recording can be sent, and we can go in and edit these. I'm going to click edit just so you could see what it looks like. But if I had changed my banner, I had put in a logo, I could put in whatever I want for the personal body of the email. I could put in the subject, etc. I could change things based on what the default is. I'm not going to make those changes, and then you can always preview it before you go live as well. Matthew, did we have a question?
Yes, we do. Someone was wondering if you could use this instead of Eventbrite.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd recommend it
You're
actually.
already paying for a Microsoft license.
Hmm.
This Teams webinar is free, although the premium costs a little bit more. It does give you additional features, which I do have that in your handout, so you can see that additional information about the premium. If we don't have time to discuss it, I did include that, but you don't have to have it. You already have Teams, so yes,
There you go.
don't have to pay extra. But just so you can see also on the left-hand side, once we actually do the meeting and stuff, we'll have different reports. We can access the recordings, and we could connect different apps to be available during this event as well. But once you're done with everything, you've got this whole thing set up. You're going to go to the top right and click Publish Site. Publish Site. That it's going to say, are you really ready? It's kind of a confirmation that, yes, I'm ready. Go ahead and click publish. It's not that you can't go back and make changes to it, but what it is giving you now is it says all set and ready to share. Your webinar is now published. Share it with your network to get the word out. So what we can do then is we can copy this shared link, and then we can paste it in an email, paste it on our website. We can embed it as an object to a button that says register for this event, those types of things. So I'm actually going to go to my email, and I copied it. So I got to go to my other account here. And just so you could see, I'm going to invite student 1. I'm going to say webinar. I'm not being very formal on this. I'm just going to paste it. But you would, of course, make it a little bit more formal. I'm going to, and by the way, I can have this look different. It can be embedded. There's a lot of different things we can do with it. But I'm going to click send. And usually I can put it on my SharePoint site. I can put it on my website, and then send an email with a link to my website so they can read more information. However it is that you want to do that. But back into my student 1 who was just invited, here's that webinar invitation. So this is what it looks like for them. So they click this link to be able to register. So let me kind of show you that. Oops. Sorry, it went to my other screen here, my other monitor. Come on. I went too far on it, sorry. But this is what it's going to end up looking like, giving you the details. I don't have very many details entered in there, but just so you could see that, and it's giving you the event information. I would just click register, and that person is going to, I'm going to just put in some details here. My organization is required, so I'll put that in there. I'll check the box. I'm going to click register. So these are all required fields. I've fulfilled those. I'm going to click register now, and it's automatically going to register me for that event. Now, of course, I didn't use the correct information, but that's okay. You get the idea of how all that is flowing together. So this meeting is now available for people to be registering for. Sorry. I got a tickle again. So when I start getting messages back and I see that people, so I have one person that's registered. I just went to this attendee status, and I could see that one person is registered. So that's the one that I just did. But I'm going to go to the top right and close that, because that has been added to my calendar. So just so you know, everything is available through your calendar. So that webinar is a great tool to use, but that was not the only template, just so you know. And I do have a description for you of a few others, because there is, and let me click on this drop down again. I'm going to go to the top right and click on the drop down. This is a town hall, the webinar I talked about first, and then town hall, virtual appointment, and then control content. I have a description in your handout of each of these, but a virtual meeting is where, as you can see, guests join on the web and enter in a tailored lobby that we have. Matthew, did we have a question first?
Yeah, we do. Someone is wondering if you can capture payments for webinars through Teams.
Not with this. Can we do it with premium?
Mm.
I'm
Interesting.
trying to remember if we can do that with premium. We can't with this version, but can I connect like my Stripe and stuff
That's what I
as
was
an
thinking.
app? I think we can through premium. I
Yeah.
don't believe that we can through the regular Teams. I think that has to be done through premium. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look at my premium information, but I don't remember ever seeing a setting or an option for that because I'm a Stripe user.
Hmm.
And I don't see an option to do that in the regular one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume if it's available, it would be in premium only. But we can double check and get back to that person that asked the question.
Sweet. Sounds
And
good.
we could find a link to give them as well.
Perfect. All
Okay.
right.
So just so you're seeing, and this is in your handout, as I said, on page 5, it's describing the town hall. The town hall is a great feature to be using if you're going to have an extremely large audience coming. This is where you're not really looking for a lot of participation from your audience. If you have the premium, you can even do more people. So this is if you're like, let's say that this is going to be open for everybody in your Providence to come and join the meeting. You might need to have the premium depending on how many people you expect to join, but it can be a limit on there as well. But there's other interactive elements available. There's different analysis that we could be using, and there's different security levels that can be being used during town halls as well. Virtual appointments. This is a great way for sending reminders to people. It does include some customization to it. But as you can see, it's good for people that if you're going to want a tailored lobby for it, where these people go to this lobby, these people go to this lobby. And then we also have the controlled content where it's going to be a meeting where we can actually have specific information that is going to be included, and it allows us to use what are called sensitivity labels. It's got a lot of encryption and different things. So depending on the type of meeting it is that you want to do, make sure you're choosing the right one. The most common that is being used even over the regular meeting is the webinar. I think the webinar has taken over as being more common than this meeting, than the regular meetings that we have. So kind of think about, what's going to work best for you. Now, I was just looking back and seeing, oh, here it is. I kind of put it nope, that was not that. I was trying to find where I had done that meeting. I was going to go back and open it, but I'm not seeing where I put that meeting on my calendar. Maybe I'll have to do a search here. Year end. And I wanted to, did I put it in a channel? I don't think I put it in a channel. I was just going to see if I could find it by searching that way, but I won't take the time to do that. But just so you understand that, it's great to be able to do these meetings. We could do it online. We could do it from Outlook. We could be doing it directly here in Teams. But depending on the other features that you're going to need, definitely give the webinar a try. But my recommendation, if you're going to use any of those, test with your coworkers. Bring your laptops into a conference room so you can kind of all be seeing what's happening as you're doing these. I know we did some testing prior to, well, Matthew and Haley did a lot more testing than I did a little bit with them, but you really want to get yourself comfortable with how these features work before you go live with an audience. I've been invited to some of them and they didn't go according to plan, and found out later that, oh, I thought it was, like the other meetings. It's not. It's not exactly the same. But anyway, just so you know, I wanted to show you. So let me just do this here real quick, and I'm going to open that up because I want you to see what it looks like when I start it. So I want to go ahead and start one. I'm just going to do a couple of defaults here. Let me get this open. Sorry about that. So even if I don't have anybody joining it, I'm going to go ahead and join it just so you could see if you are the organizer or co-organizer or the presenter, what you're going to see. So once you first come in, of course, you want to turn your camera on, turn on and off your microphone like we normally would. I'm going to go ahead and click join now. Q&A has been enabled for the event. I just got a notification letting me know that. So you could see that it was saying it's connecting to the event. But a couple of things that are going to be a little bit different. So it's letting me know, of course, that I can start, as soon as I start the meeting, it's going to automatically record and transcribe the meeting. If I click start meeting, everybody from the lobby will be automatically allowed in. So once I have all my people registered and I go ahead and click start meeting, that's when everybody's going to see the screens that are being shared. They're actually in the meeting itself. The recording is going to start, and we can then, it's going to automatically do that process of being able to go back and share those recordings. So I'm going to just end that right away. I just wanted you to see how that was a little bit different than a normal meeting. But I'm going to say that I'm done with that meeting, because when you go back to a meeting that you've previously done, I'm going to go back to this meeting that I did a little while ago that I had my student one join me with. When you come back to a previous meeting, you're going to have different tabs going across the top where you could go into the chat that happened during the meeting. But under the details is where you can get back into the meeting notes. Anybody that attended can come back in here, so they can come back in and see the meeting notes, and they can be adding in any follow-ups. So if I need to add anything in for follow-ups, I could add those in down here, and then I could have people register. And let me get the board view. I'm going to say that I want to add in a task, and I'm going to say it's going to be news, and I'm going to say I want to assign it to student one, and you can only assign it to people that are actually in the meeting, and they will get a notification letting them know that they were actually assigned to that, just so you know how that piece of it worked. But otherwise, up at the top, I'm going to go to this recap, because from meetings, that Meet app on the left-hand side in Teams, you can do a recap. If you were recording and did transcriptions, you will have the capability of coming back. And this is where Copilot is handy, because if you have Copilot and you have the premium version, there's even additional things that we can do. We can be having Copilot actually help write those meeting notes for us, which then we can combine the meeting notes together, because it's going to give it to us in a list here. But anyway, just so you can see that I can go into my transcripts if there was a transcript for that particular one. It's great to be able to come back and have all that. As a matter of fact, I can actually go into Stream and make changes to this as well. So we can cut parts of the recording out and things like that, just so you know how this part works. I'm going to close this one because I want to go back to the one we just did, which was the webinar. I'm going to maximize that one back out. So once again, when I come back into the webinar, I can have shared, and this is a great feature here. This shared is going to show any files or links that were shared during that meeting, which includes, of course, the recording, because my student one did receive a copy of this recording when that webinar ended. We also have the attendance report. I can go back into the meeting itself and get other reports for that webinar, because remember, when we're doing these webinars, we have the recordings tab, we have the reports tab. So this is giving me a report on the entire meeting. So back into the actual webinar. Matthew, did somebody have a question?
No, we did. We don't have any new questions. However, we did get an answer on the payments app.
Good.
Microsoft did release a prototype app for payments via webinars. I just fired the link to that in the chat, but it does look like that app actually didn't succeed, and they are going to close it out. So it's being pulled out of
Okay.
circulation there. So Yeah, there's your answer for that.
That's a bummer.
Oh,
Now,
it is a
did you
little bit.
happen to see if it was premium or the regular teams?
I did not look that far.
Okay,
Um,
because I
it
know
looks
they're
to me
making
like it
some
was just
huge
an app.
changes.
Yeah, it looks like it was just an app that you could add to your regular teams. From a
Okay, you
glance, that's
could
what it
use
looked
it in
like.
regular teams.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'll also open it up for further questions. If anyone wants to raise their hand or turn on their mic and ask a question, please feel free, or pop it in to the Q&A. But if not, I'll wrap it up for today. So first of all, thank you, JoLynn. For any
Absolutely.
training related questions, please feel free to reach out to us at training@smartdolphins.com and visit our website to catch up on our upcoming event. We'd really appreciate it if you could take a moment to leave us a review on Google. Whether that's for the webinar or your experience with us, it's a huge help. Simply click the link in the chat to access our review page. Your support helps us reach more people and empower them with the tools they need. Thank you again for joining us today. Here's a quick reminder of our upcoming events. On November 28th, we're doing cybersecurity for leaders. On December 5th, we're doing Microsoft Outlook, Planner, and To Do. And then on December 12th, we're doing Microsoft Bookings. So please visit our website for details and registration. Thanks again, everyone, and have a wonderful day.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.